Hey guys, welcome to another Tutorial Tuesday. Today we're going to get started with a portrait. I hope you've watched the previous lesson, so we're on lesson 6 today. I hope you've watched 1 to 5. I've outlined all of the techniques that we're going to be using to try and draw this portrait of the baby here. So what I've done is I've actually stuck these the picture and my paper down. I wouldn't recommend this to you guys. I want you to keep the paper moving like you've seen me doing in the previous videos, but I just wanted you to be able to see both the reference image and the drawing as we go along. So I've stuck those down, but like I've said, you don't need to do this obviously because you're not videoing it. Basically what we've done to begin with is I've measured with the 18-inch ruler the middle sections. So I've measured the width and the length of the paper and I've drawn a cross through both of them. These are going to be our guidelines. Like I've stated over in the Facebook page recently, we're going to be using something called a geared divider. It's a little bit like a compass, except it doesn't have a pencil at one of the ends. It's just got 2 sharp pointy bits. Be very careful with this. A, I don't want you to prick yourself with it, but B, I've damaged numerous pieces of paper and actually ruined some pieces of art by letting this fall onto the page. So just be careful with this. You can pick these up from any stationers really. I'm pretty sure you can get one on Amazon. This was about £4 and it's a really cool piece of kit. Now this is the method that I first learned how to get proportions and started to learn how to draw portraits. It's a very simple method and it really trains your eye to be able to see things. Sort of three years down the line now, I would be quite happy to freehand this, no problem, maybe with a couple of guidelines on there, but just going in and freehanding it. And it all started with me using this and this method. So I'm going to go through it and then hopefully we'll get on to next week, getting on to shading it and trying to make it look very realistic. So what I'm going to start with is I'm just going to take some measurements. So the first measurement that I want to find from the midsection is I want to find where this baby's chin comes. So I'm holding that and I'm going to transfer that directly across and I'm just going to make a mark on my horizontal line there. The next measurement I'm going to take, let's go to the baby's hand here and we're going to come down onto there. Again, I'm using an HB pencil for this. I would recommend you using a 4H or a 2H, just so that you're not marking the paper too much. I mean, I'm trying to get you guys to understand exactly how we're laying this out. So I am using the HB pencil. I'm probably going to be pressing on harder than I would do if I was doing this maybe as a commission. Next one I'm going to take is the height. So where does this hairline come? Again, just making sure that I'm getting the dimensions exactly right, making sure not to damage the paper as we mark the plot points. So when you've got a reference which is touching one of the horizontal or vertical lines, it's actually quite easy to do. But let's say that I wanted to take a point, let's say where the ear meets the face here. I'm going to need to take 2 points now. So I need to take the vertical point and I'm going to line it up and I'm going to have a little bit of guesswork initially. So I'm going to go roughly there and then I need to take the horizontal point. And the horizontal point, so I was a little bit out, is there. So I now know that this point here on the baby's cheek, which meets the ear, is exactly there. So I'll just erase that initial mark there. Try and make your drawing as tidy as possible. You don't want any marks on there that are unnecessary. So we're going to go and continue around now and we're just going to go and find a few more of these important reference points. So we're going to go for the corner of this eye now. So exactly the same thing. I'm going to measure the vertical. Trying to use left and right hand here, it's quite tricky. So vertical's there. Now this is something that you're going to start to learn, and this is how you then start to learn to freehand. But I know where this point is now, and the corner of the eye is just slightly lower than that point with the earlobe there. So when I take my horizontal, I can line it up, and I now know that I'm roughly there. So if I was to measure this now and get the precise measurement there, you'll see that we're not too far out. So we're bang on there. So I know that this is the corner of this eye. We're going to do the same thing again for the bottom of the eye here. I'm going to take that rough measurement, I'm going to keep it on there. A bit of guesswork to start with, because we've not got very many plot points down yet that we can use to sort of eyeball it. So I'm going to go into there. I'm a little bit too low with mine, so that's where we are with that. Taking my kneaded eraser, I'm just making it into a point, and you can see that I am pressing on quite lightly because that comes off quite easily. So we can now start to see that we've got the dimensions of this eye. Now what I'm going to look at here is, if you look at the reference, the baby's eye doesn't come straight across. We've got almost a dog leg in this. So I'm going to take the measurement right in here. So again, we're going to go with the horizontal measurement to begin with. Slightly higher than that. There we go. And then I'm going to take the vertical. Now, if you're going for a portrait, it's important that you get these measurements spot on, particularly if you're drawing a famous person. I've had an angle of an eye slightly wrong before on somebody that's pretty famous, and everybody can see that it's slightly out. So now I'm just going to freehand that closed eye in there. So we've taken the top and the bottom reference points and this dog leg here that we can see, and I'm marking that in. Next one, let's have a little look at the bottom eye. So we're going to come across, I'm going to take the horizontal measurement first. I can see that I'm just over ½ centimetre, maybe closer to 1 centimetre away on the vertical there. So I'm going to translate that across once I come into here. So I've got the horizontal, which is there, and I can see from the reference that this distance is about just over ½ centimetre. So let's see how close my eyes were. If I take that and measure it there, so I was almost spot on. So I know that that's the top of the eye there. Now we can do the same here. We're going to get this part of the eye in here and do the same thing. Now I've measured already on this piece here, I've measured where the hand comes. Now if we look at that, it's sitting just above this. So if I take the horizontal measurement, I know when I put it on that I need to be slightly above where the hand lies. So now I'm just going to check my measurement from what I eyeballed it and see if we're about there, and we're about spot on. And it's this method that actually allows you to start to be able to see things. People go, oh, you know, we need to learn freehand straight away, and I don't believe in that at all. Being able to freehand it comes from being able to see things with your eyes and knowing what to line up with what. And it takes practice, but you're going to be really, really pleased with how this turns out and how accurate we can get this looking. And actually, the trick is not in the plotting of the drawing. I don't care whether you trace this or use a light box to go over it. The trick is actually building the values up and the contours. That's where we're going to make... I think that we're going to be able to make this drawing look better than this image here on the paper. And that was something that when I first started drawing, I thought there's no way we're going to be able to do that. I'd heard of various artists saying that they can make drawings look better than photographs, and I didn't believe it. But I think we're going to be able to achieve that with this one. So the trick really lies in with, can we make the contours, get the contrast right? Can we make the transitions of values very smooth? That's where the technique and the magic really starts to come. So I'm just going to start plotting this nose now. So I can see that we've got a mark on the horizontal right on there. So I only need to take one measurement there. And I now know that that's where the nostril meets. We've got one on the vertical here. So that's where that crease comes in there. And like I say, if I'm going slightly fast for you guys, I am trying to make these videos around about half an hour in length. But if I am going too fast, pause it, rewind it, and don't hesitate to fire me some messages across and whatnot. I'll be more than willing to try and explain a little bit more depth. I'm going to take this measurement now, right in the middle of the nose there. So it's a very, very small distance away from the vertical line. And actually looking at it, it's a similar distance up and down. There we go, so we're spot on. So I now know we've got that part of the nose in the right place. What we're looking for here is we're looking for shapes that we can represent, and we can clearly see, and I can see almost a zigzag in here. So I can see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 points. So we've got 1 point in here, we've got a point in there. I'm going to look for this point now. Almost looks like a W on its side. So I'm going to take the horizontal distance and I'm just measuring it up there. So I was a little bit high, so we're somewhere in there. So now I can start to join that up. So we've got, where are we? There we are, we're there to there. And then this is coming somewhere there. Now don't forget, we're just looking for some basic shapes initially. We're not looking for the finished article by any means. Okay, I want to know now where this nostril comes around there. So I'm marking that on, and we're going to take this point. Don't be afraid to mark your reference images as long as you know what you're doing. I'm going to eyeball that on the height. So that's slightly high. So we're there. So I'm now going to bring that round. And we're now starting to get this shape. I'm going to do the same here. So I'm going to look at this. I'm going to look for 2 points here. I'm going to look for the point where it ends, and I'm going to look for the highest point in this curve, and I'm going to plot that here and here. So let's look for this first one. So I'm a bit wide there. And I've eyeballed that in slightly low there, and then we're going for the second one. So it's not quite as far out as our initial one. Somewhere there, and we're a little bit deeper down, just over double the depth down of our initial spot that we plotted there. Now I know we've got that kind of shape coming in here, and let's just take a measurement for how far away that comes from there. So I'm just going to plot this nostril into there. And now what we need to look for is the actual top of the nostril, the holes there and there. So I'm going to take a couple of measurements for this. I'm going to take the highest point. So where's the arc of that nostril come? I'm looking at it. It's almost level with what we had there. So it's almost level with that one in terms of the vertical. Might be fractionally higher when I put it on yet. So it's fractionally higher. So I now know that we're coming up into this point here. And I've already plotted the midsection. It's not that one, it's this one here. And I'm just going to fill that in slightly, just so that I can start to see the shape. Now don't be worried if you're slightly off in this part of the drawing or in this stage. You will make corrections as we go along. As we're adding the value, you'll start to see things much clearer. I can see that comes, this is all shadowed under here. So I'm there. Now I need to take this measurement. So how far away does the nostril come there? It's somewhere there. Let's see how deep it comes down so we're getting the proportions right. And you can start to see now that we're beginning to join the dots up. There's an element of free-handing in here. We're not completely automated. Now I can start to see that we're slightly off in here, and perhaps it's because this is more shaded under there. Excuse me. And perhaps this nostril there, I'm not quite high up enough here. Yep. So I'm just slightly off there, and it's just these small corrections that we need to make initially, and if we get them right to begin with, it makes it much easier when we come to add in the value. Okay, so we've laid the eyes down, both eyes. We've got the nose starting to take shape there. Let's get some more of this shape of the chin in. So I'm going to take this point under here now. We're going to measure that, sort of where the hand starts to cover up the chin. So we're that wide. We're at a similar height to the plot mark that we've already got, which is there. And I'm going to take the vertical, so as a fraction out, so I'm there. I'm going to erase the original horizontal there so you can see me making the correction. So we can see that we've got the chin that's starting to come down at this type of angle, and it's coming to there. And I'm just eyeballing this a little bit. And then I can see that the hand comes up. And then we're on to that area there. Okay, so I hope you're following where I am on the drawing. I'm sort of going for this here. Now, I can see here that we're almost coming up straight, and it reaches a point where it starts to then kick back in. So I'm going to take that measurement just so that I've got the contour of the face in the right place. When you're drawing a picture for somebody, it could be that subtle difference that makes or breaks your picture. Somebody will notice, you know, my child doesn't have that, or my child has that and they've missed it out. And if you're going to be drawing something for somebody, you want to get every detail in that you can. So you can see now here from the drawing, we've got this reference point, and we've got this one that we already laid down, which is here. So I'm just going to connect the dots now, making sure I've got roughly the right shape. And I can see that this comes in this way. So I think this measurement here was the top of the hair. So I want to take this measurement now to make sure that I've got the correct hairline. Okay, so I think I'm out on one of my measurements. I don't think the initial one was correct. Looking at the distance between the two there now. Yeah, so that's my hairline. So it's important that we are getting these things right straight away. As soon as I notice I've made an error, I'm just going to dab that out, and you can see how easily the graphite comes off just with this kneaded eraser. The kneaded eraser that I use, it's a Faber-Castell kneaded eraser. You can get these from Amazon. I think they cost £1, £1.20 or something like that, so they're very cheap. So I've got this plot line in here now, so this is almost a continuation up to there, and then the hairline was coming down, and it's coming into about there if we were to continue that down and round, so that sort of shape into this. And all we're doing is we're just blocking out some crude shapes initially. So this earlobe, let's take a measurement for the height of it, just so that you're understanding what I'm looking for, where things are lining up. Like I say, I'm quite happy to go in and eyeball that. I've done enough over the years that I can see where that was going and what rough shape I needed. So I'm almost spot on there. So that's the top of the ear, there and there, and then we're just slightly wider. So it's only just protruding slightly wider than this line here if I was to draw that. So we're coming there, and then we're going to round this off. So we know we've got the rough shape of that earlobe, and it comes slightly in on itself there, and then back up. So now I'm just going to erase any of the lines that we don't really want. That wasn't really there, that was just a guideline for me. So you can see now that we've got the start into the shape of the head. I don't love these lines here. So I'm just going to tidy these up and just get into the habit of just tidying up when you can. Don't save it all till the end. Okay, so next point, I'm going to look at this point of the baby's head here where this hairline almost comes into a V shape. And I'm going to take that measurement just so that we've got the length of that forehead right. So we're about there. It's sitting above the nose, the top of the nose. So somewhere there. Let's take the vertical measurement. And it's about there, so I was a little bit too low with that one. Yeah, I was off a little bit. And then we're just going to erase. Okay. So another point we're going to look for is this one. There, because then I can start to bring this round. So let's take the horizontal to begin with. And it's lying lower than this point. Let's see how good my eyes were there. I'm going to remeasure that. I don't know if I moved. So about there. Like I said, you can use a compass for this, but you can see the downside to using a compass. Obviously on one of these ends I'm going to have a pencil, so I'm going to be making more marks there or on the lines itself. So I would recommend getting something like this. I'm sure you can get a compass where you can change the nibs if you've got a math set or something, but just making sure that it does open wide enough. So I've got this in here now. So I'm going to take one measurement here now, one measurement here. That's going to give me enough to work from then to bring that round to the head. So that horizontal measurement is there, and I can see that it's sitting higher than my last one. So I'm going to position it slightly higher. And then I'm going to take the measurement to see where I was, if I was anywhere near. Just bringing this hairline in, not being too precise with anything at the minute. We're going to recheck, and no, I've gone too low there with that one. Check the horizontal, it's much higher than that, I can see that. So I don't need this reference point. So I can see now from my drawing that as I'm looking at the reference image, I'm somewhere there, somewhat there. Okay, I can take this hairline now that sits on this horizontal line, and it's roughly there, roughly there. So we can see that is this type of shape. So this is actually where the baby's head ends, and then this is going to be hair and shadow. So I want to take this point in here to begin with, and I'm going to bring, in actual fact, I'm going to take this point here where the finger starts to meet. That's the last point of my head, and then I'm going to be able to work up into this space there. So I've taken the horizontal, it's slightly lower than where we were with that, slightly to the right of the eye. Let me take that again because that didn't look as though I was... See, now I've laid this down here, the distance between these two looks greater than the distance between those two on the reference image. So I'm going to remeasure that eye, the point of the eye there. And you see I'm slightly out. So that's where I needed to be with this eye. And it's by doing or starting this way that allows you to see and understand where your errors are. And this is how you then start to freehand. So I can now see that distance is short enough there. So I'm about right with that. So that's that point just here. I'm now going to take this point here and I'm going to bring that up to it. So that's the distance away from it. It's slightly higher than that. Take the horizontal and then the vertical. And I was almost right there. So that's going to slightly curve upwards. And then we've got this coming in here. Now, obviously this reference image, we're cutting the top of this baby's head off there. So we might need to use a little bit of guesswork. So I'm going to take the edge of this now. That's the furthest point that I can see. And I'm coming to where the hairline meets the forehead. A little bit away from that there. Horizontal is not too important for this one. So then we're going to come at this sort of angle. Now again, if I was doing this for somebody and I hadn't anchored this down with the tape, I would be starting to move my reference around and maybe turning it to see that I've got this angle correct here. So like I say, I'm only taping this down now so that you guys can see exactly what I'm doing with this. We'll bring that round shortly. So let's take a couple of these little dimples here. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 that we can take, and that's then going to give us a good idea and indication as to where this hand is lying, which will then complete this section rather nicely. So I've got that one about right. Next one, it's sitting lower than the initial one, so I know to place my divider down slightly lower. I can measure that one again if I want to. That was a little bit too low there with that one. Make that slight adjustment. So we've got 2 in. 1, 2, we're going to go for number 3 now, and I can see that that's almost sitting at the same height as the previous one. These little chubby fingers are so cute. And now we're going to here, and that is definitely sitting higher. It's actually about level with the initial one, which was there. So I can pop that in somewhere there. Let's measure that just to see, but I wouldn't be measuring that if I was doing this. I'm quite happy with the placement of that there, so I'm spot on with that. And then let's take this final one there. And what I'll also do is I'll take the tip of the finger. So let's go with the tip of the finger first, just to see how high up it comes. And you can see here we've almost got a dot to dot. I'm definitely going to measure that. So it's much higher there, it's there. And I was about to say, I can see from the reference how much closer that tip of the finger was here to the corner of the eye. And I've now got that where I initially laid it down, which was there, wasn't right. So let's connect these dots then. So we're going to come in slightly downwards there and in. That's coming over. That one's into there. And then we're up at that angle. There we go, we've got some little chubby fingers starting to form. And we know, because we've marked these, that we're roughly in the right area. I know that there is this point, so that's the tip of this little finger. So we can almost eyeball this in. And then that's coming in there. Okay. So we're starting to get somewhere. So I hope you're following this. I'm actually really enjoying this. It's going to be a lovely little picture. He's a very cute baby. I got this image from an app called Pixabay, which is a copyright-free reference images. You've got to be very careful when you're drawing things, unless they're copyrighted. You know, you could be infringing copyright laws, and we don't want to be getting into any trouble. So I quite often use these free websites. I'm going to go around the rest of the drawing now. I hope that you've sort of seen enough. I'm going to start with the mouth now, and I'm just going to start looking for these initial references. Let's do the first one there, where the corner of this lip comes in. I'm just going to, like I say, do exactly the same thing. I'm going to plot this mouth in, and then this second hand up there. And then hopefully for next week's lesson, we're going to start laying down the values using the methods that we've learnt when we've been drawing the sphere and the barrel. I hope you're enjoying the tutorial so far. If this is the first time you've watched one of my videos, go back and watch lesson 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5. They're conveniently placed in one of the playlists on the channel. It's called Tutorial Tuesdays. Don't forget to come and join the Facebook group. If you type in the search bar on Tutorial Tuesdays, it's called Tutorial Tuesdays Beginner to Pro. Ask to join that and I'll accept you in. And what we're trying to do there is show people how far we've come along with some of the homework, ask questions. I will also be doing, I'll be getting you to send me in some of your work, and I'll be on one of the videos at the end, I'll be doing sort of a Q&A, just having a look at your drawings, print them out over at my place. I'll print them out and then see where we can make some adjustments and see if we can make things better and just see how you're going on. But that's going to be as we start to develop these portraits. But like you can see, it's a lovely picture. It's a sphere shape. That's why I've picked this baby, because we've done a sphere very recently and we're looking again at trying to develop this contoured look. We've got a sphere here, one there. This is a sphere, this is a sphere, the head's a sphere, this is a sphere, the chin, the fingers. So everything we've learnt about the direction of the light, the shadows, I'm going to be showing you all of that again with this, using the methods that we've gone through. So I hope you've got a rough idea of what we've done. Don't go too dark. Don't worry about making mistakes. Make sure that you're trying to plot as accurately as you can. Let me know what you think. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel, hit the like button, leave me a comment down below, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Thanks very much for watching. Hit subscribe, smack the notifications button, follow me on Facebook, Instagram and Twitter.